I grew up in Seattle as a software engineer with a comfortable salary and what I thought was a perfect 7-year marriage to Sophia. We had our routines, our favorite restaurants, and plans for the future. Then I discovered she was having an affair with her coworker. The divorce was brutal, but I rebuilt my life brick by brick. I thought I had left the past behind until she showed up at my doorstep 2 years after our divorce, tears in her eyes. Before I tell you what decision I made, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever been betrayed like I was. 9 years ago, I met Sophia at a tech product launch party in downtown Seattle. She caught my eye immediately with her confident smile and intelligent conversation. Sophia worked as a marketing director at a prestigious law firm, and her ambition matched my own drive as a software engineer. That night we talked for hours about technology, our career goals, and our shared love for hiking the Pacific Northwest trails. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant overlooking Lake Union. I remember how the sunset reflected on the water as Sophia told me about her childhood in Portland. Something about her laugh made me feel like I had known her my entire life. Within 6 months, we were practically inseparable. My friends joked that I had been completely captivated by her, and they were right. On our 1-year anniversary, I proposed on the shores of Lake Washington at sunrise. I had planned everything meticulously, hiding the ring in a box containing a miniature replica of the Space Needle, her favorite Seattle landmark. When she said yes, I felt like the luckiest man alive. We married in a beautiful ceremony with 120 guests the following spring, bought our first home in Ballard, and started planning for children within the next 2 years. The first few years of marriage were everything I had hoped for. We traveled to Japan, Italy, and New Zealand. We hosted dinner parties for our friends and family. We built a life that I was proud of. I thought nothing could ever come between us. Looking back, I should have noticed when things began to change. Sophia started coming home later from work. Her business trips became more frequent. She stopped sharing details about her day. At the time, I convinced myself she was just focused on her career. I admired her dedication and ambition, so I gave her the space I thought she needed. Then small arguments became more common. She would get irritated when I asked about her day. She criticized the way I loaded the dishwasher or folded laundry, things that had never bothered her before. Physically, she began to distance herself. Kisses became quick pecks, and nights when she claimed to be too tired for intimacy multiplied. I tried everything to repair what I sensed was breaking between us. I cooked her favorite meals, surprised her with gifts, suggested marriage counseling. She dismissed the counseling idea immediately, saying we were just going through a busy phase. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. I never imagined she would betray me. The first real clue came when I glimpsed a text message notification on her phone while she was in the shower. It simply read, "Your laughter is the highlight of my day." I did not recognize the name. When I asked her about it casually, she said it was a new client who was particularly friendly. I pushed away my unease. Then came the late-night phone calls she would take in another room, the unfamiliar cologne I detected on her clothes, the way she suddenly became protective of her phone, changing her password and keeping it face down. Still, I trusted her. I had built my entire life around that trust. Everything changed when my friend Taylor mentioned seeing Sophia having dinner with an unknown man at a restaurant across town, holding hands across the table. Taylor had assumed I knew that perhaps we had an understanding. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Even then, I wanted to believe there was an explanation. Our 7th wedding anniversary arrived, and I planned a surprise dinner at our favorite restaurant, the Whale Winds. I left work early to pick up flowers and arrived at her office to surprise her. The receptionist looked confused when I asked for Sophia. "She is not here. She left early with James from legal." James. I had heard his name mentioned a few times in recent months. A new hire. Young, ambitious, recently moved from Boston. Something inside me knew before I had proof. I drove across town to his apartment building, an address I found through a quick social media search. And there, through the ground floor window with its partially open blinds, I saw my wife in another man's arms, laughing in a way she had not laughed with me in months. I sat in my car for 2 hours, unable to move. When I finally drove home, I felt like I was outside my body, watching myself navigate through traffic like a stranger. Sophia returned home at 9:30 p.m., apologizing for being late, claiming a work emergency. I looked at this woman I had loved for years now, a stranger to me. When I asked her directly about James, her expression changed from confusion to denial to anger in seconds. "No, you are being paranoid," she snapped. Then, "Is someone spreading rumors at my office?" Finally, after I described exactly what I had seen, her face crumpled. "Fine, yes, we have been seeing each other, but you have not been present in this marriage for months. You are always working, always distracted." The argument that followed was the worst of my life. Accusations flew like shrapnel. Things were said that could never be unsaid. I packed a bag and drove to my best friend Alex's apartment, unable to spend another minute under the same roof as the person who had shattered my world. The following weeks were a blur of pain and legal meetings. Sophia hired an aggressive divorce attorney and demanded half of everything, including equity in the software startup I had been building on the side before we even met. She spread stories among our mutual friends that I had been emotionally unavailable, that I had driven her to seek comfort elsewhere. People I had known for years began to look at me differently, wondering if there was truth to her claims. The divorce proceedings dragged on for 8 months. I lost 20 pounds. My performance at work suffered. I started having panic attacks when my phone rang, fearing another demand from her lawyer. The worst was when friends began taking sides. People I thought would stand by me suddenly stopped returning my calls. Sophia and I faced each other across conference tables surrounded by attorneys who charged $400 an hour to dismantle the life we had built. I barely recognized her anymore, this cold, calculating person who seemed determined to extract every possible dollar and possession. The final court date arrived on a rainy Tuesday. The judge divided our assets and I lost the house we had renovated together. I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. That first night alone, surrounded by boxes and bare walls, I hit the lowest point of my life. I sat on the floor of my new living room, a pizza growing cold beside me, staring at our wedding photo. I had not had the strength to discard. 7 years of my life gone. Plans for children evaporated. Trust in humanity severely damaged. I drank too much whiskey that night and called in sick to work the next day, wondering how my life had collapsed so completely. 3 days into my downward spiral, Alex showed up unannounced with groceries and tough love. He found me unshowered, surrounded by takeout containers, staring blankly at my laptop. "Wesley, this has to stop," he said, opening my curtains to let in the first sunlight I had seen in days. "You did not deserve what happened, but you cannot let it destroy you. That would be giving her too much power." Something in his words penetrated the fog I had been living in. Alex stayed the entire day, helping me clean the apartment, forcing me to eat a proper meal, and most importantly, helping me formulate a plan. I would not let this betrayal define the rest of my life. That night I made a detailed list: find a new job at a different company, join a gym, learn a new skill unrelated to technology, rebuild my social circle, and eventually, when ready, try dating again. I gathered every photo card and memento from my marriage and held a ceremonial burning in a metal trash can on my tiny balcony. As I watched the flames consume the paper, evidence of my past, I felt a weight lifting. The following Monday, I submitted applications to 5 companies. By Friday, I had 2 interviews scheduled. Within 3 weeks, I accepted a position at a promising startup with better compensation and more creative control. My new office was on the opposite side of the city from where Sophia worked. It felt symbolic, moving physically away from our shared past. I joined a rock climbing gym and started going 4 times a week. The physical exertion and focus required left no room for dwelling on my pain. My body began to transform, muscles developing where there had previously been softness born of too many dinners out and weekend brunches. I bought new clothes, got a different haircut, and started wearing contacts instead of the glasses Sophia had always preferred. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, colleagues began to comment on my transformation. The haunted look had left my eyes. I smiled more. I contributed actively in meetings. I joined a volunteer program teaching coding to underprivileged high school students on weekends, which introduced me to a whole new network of compassionate, engaged people. A year after moving into the small apartment, I bought a modern townhouse in Fremont. I decorated it exactly as I wanted with no compromises for anyone else's taste. Industrial fixtures, minimalist furniture, a dedicated music room for the guitar I had started learning. This space was entirely mine, a physical manifestation of my new independence. I began cautiously dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee or drinks with women I met through friends or dating apps. I was transparent about my divorce, but careful not to let bitterness color these interactions. Some dates went well, others were disasters, but each one helped me remember how to connect with someone new. Then, at a charity auction for the coding program, I bumped into Lisa, quite literally spilling my drink on her dress. Mortified, I offered to pay for dry cleaning. She laughed it off and said, "How about you buy me a replacement drink instead?" Lisa was a pediatrician with an easy smile and quiet confidence that immediately put me at ease. Unlike the other women I had dated since my divorce, she asked thoughtful questions and actually listened to my answers. We exchanged numbers, and our first official date was a cooking class where we both failed spectacularly at making soufflés. Our shared laughter over deflated desserts felt like a breakthrough, the first genuine joy I had experienced in a relationship since before Sophia's betrayal. Lisa never pushed when I grew quiet talking about my past. She understood healing takes time. Gradually, over weekly dates that turned into twice weekly, then weekends together, I found myself trusting again. When anxious thoughts crept in, that she too might someday betray me, I worked through them, instead of allowing them to sabotage what was growing between us. About 18 months after my divorce, I ran into Jackson, a former colleague who had been friends with both Sophia and me. Over beers, he shared news I had not sought out. Sophia and James had broken up dramatically. Apparently, James had been seeing someone else, a paralegal from another firm. The irony was not lost on me. She had also been let go from her position after a major marketing campaign failed spectacularly. Strangely, I felt no satisfaction in her misfortune. No vindication or joy. Just a calm acknowledgement that life has its own way of balancing scales. I wished her well silently and changed the subject to Jackson's new project. By this point, Lisa and I had been dating exclusively for 8 months. She had a drawer in my bedroom and had introduced me to her parents. I was planning a weekend getaway to propose, having found myself ready to trust in partnership again when my past literally came knocking. It was a Friday evening, and Lisa and I were getting ready for a dinner party at her colleague's house. I was adjusting my tie when the doorbell rang. Opening it without checking the peephole, I found myself face to face with Sophia. 2 years had changed her. Her designer clothes had been replaced with jeans and a simple blouse. Her makeup was minimal, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, instead of the elaborate styles she had preferred during our marriage. But what struck me most was the uncertainty in her eyes, so different from the confident woman I had married. "Wesley," she said softly, "I almost did not recognize you. You look amazing." I stood frozen, a storm of emotions rising within me. Confusion, anger, residual, hurt, and something unexpected pity. "Sophia," I finally managed. "What are you doing here?" She looked past me into the home she had never seen. "I need to talk to you. I have been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of therapy actually. I made the biggest mistake of my life letting you go. Losing you," she paused, tears forming in her eyes. "Nothing has been right since then. I miss you. I still love you." Before I could respond, Lisa appeared behind me, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of concern. Sophia's expression hardened momentarily before she composed herself. "I did not realize you had company. I can come back another time." I felt Lisa squeeze my shoulder supportively, giving me strength. "No," I said firmly. "This is not a good time, and honestly, I do not think there will be a good time. Whatever you came to say, it is 2 years too late. Just give me 30 minutes, Wesley, please. I have changed. I know what I threw away and I would do anything to get a second chance. Lisa quietly whispered that she would wait inside, giving me space. I appreciated her understanding but felt uncomfortable with the entire situation. Sophia, I am building a new life now. We cannot go backward. She began to cry more intensely, those tears that had once moved mountains for me. Just meet me for coffee. One conversation. You owe me that much. I owe you. The words slipped out before I could contain them. After what you did, I took a deep breath, reminding myself that anger would only prolong this interaction. Look, I have moved on. You should too. I gently closed the door, despite her protests leaning against it, as my heart raced. Lisa approached, cautiously concern etched on her face. That was her, she asked. I nodded, unable to find words immediately. When I could speak, I said, She wants to try again. Can you believe that Lisa took my hands in hers? What do you want to do? That question haunted me over the next several days as Sophia launched a full campaign to re-enter my life. She called repeatedly, sent text messages alternating between apologetic and accusatory, mailed handwritten letters detailing her regrets and the future we could still have, even had flowers delivered to my office with cards describing memories from our marriage. I found myself in a strange emotional limbo. Part of me remembered the good times, the woman I had loved enough to marry. Another part remained scarred by her betrayal. And a third part, the strongest part, recognized how happy I was with Lisa, how healthy our relationship felt in comparison. Lisa remained patient but understandably concerned. She never issued ultimatums but admitted her fears. I do not want to lose you to a ghost from your past, she said one evening as we discussed the situation. But I also do not want you to have regrets. If you need to talk to her for closure, I understand. After 2 weeks of persistent contact from Sophia, I agreed to meet her at a neutral coffee shop downtown. Lisa kissed me before I left, whispering, I trust you. Just come back to me. Sophia was waiting when I arrived, perfectly put together in a way that reminded me of our early dating days. She had brought our wedding album, which she pushed across the table as soon as I sat down. Remember how happy we were, she asked, opening to photos of our first dance. We can have this again, Wesley. I know we can. I have grown so much. I understand now what I threw away. I looked at the photos without touching the album. 2 smiling strangers gazed back at me from the glossy pages. What happened with James? I asked. She waved dismissively. He was a mistake. Nothing compared to what we had. He cheated on me, if you can believe the irony. I believe it, I said quietly. Wesley, I know I hurt you, deeply, unforgivably. But everyone deserves a second chance, do not they? She reached for my hand. I have never stopped loving you. When things fell apart with James, I realized you were the best man I have ever known, the only one who truly cared about me. I studied her face, searching for the woman I had once built my life around. In that moment, I saw clearly what I had been unable to see before. Sophia did not miss me specifically. She missed the stability and devotion I had provided. She missed how I had made her feel about herself. I gently pulled my hand away. I have forgiven you, I told her. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. But we were so good together, she insisted. We can be again. Better even. I know what I did wrong now. I shook my head. We were not good together at the end, Sophia. You were unhappy enough to seek someone else. And now, I have found happiness with Lisa. At the mention of Lisa Sophia's expression changed. That woman at your house, she cannot possibly know you like I do. We have history, Wesley. Yes, we do. And that history includes you breaking my heart and trying to take everything from me in the divorce, including spreading lies about me to our friends. She became defensive. I was hurt and angry. People do stupid things when they are emotional. That is exactly my point, I replied calmly. When things get difficult, that is when we see who people truly are. I have seen who you are, Sophia, and I have seen who Lisa is during challenging times. She builds me up. She stands beside me, Sophia scoffed. So that is it. You are choosing her over me. After everything we meant to each other, I am choosing myself, actually. and the life I have built from the ashes of what you destroyed. I reached across the table and took her hand one last time. I truly hope you find happiness, Sophia, but it will not be with me. She pulled her hand away, anger replacing the tears. You will regret this, Wesley. No one will ever understand you like I do. I stood up, leaving money for both our coffees. That is where you are wrong. I have found someone who understands the man I am now, not the man I was before you broke me. Goodbye, Sophia. I walked out of the coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in years. The last chains of my past had finally broken. When I arrived home, Lisa was waiting, trying to appear casual, though I could see the worry in her eyes. She was reading a medical journal on the couch, still dressed in her scrubs from work. How did it go? She asked, setting down her reading. Instead of answering immediately, I knelt in front of her and took both her hands in mine. These past months with you have shown me what real partnership feels like, what trust feels like when it is deserved. I did not plan to do this now. I had a whole weekend planned next month, but I cannot wait any longer. I pulled the ring box from my pocket, the one I had been carrying for weeks. Lisa gasped as I opened it to reveal the sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, a ring as unique as our journey together. Lisa Morgan, I love you. Will you marry me? Her eyes filled with tears as she nodded, pulling me into an embrace. Yes, Wesley. Absolutely yes. Looking back now, 1 year later, as Lisa and I prepare our new home for the arrival of our first child, I marvel at how life can surprise you. The pain that once seemed unbearable became the catalyst for growth I never would have experienced otherwise. The betrayal that broke me became the foundation upon which I built a stronger version of myself. I learned that forgiving someone does not mean you have to keep them in your life. I learned that letting go is not the same as giving up. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes the things that feel like endings are actually beginnings in disguise. If you are going through something similar right now, know that the darkness does eventually lift. The pain that feels permanent today will someday be just a memory. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision about giving someone a second chance? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more stories of resilience, and share with someone who might need to hear that better days are ahead. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the most painful goodbyes lead to the most beautiful hellos.